What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Life Coach Zack podcast. I'm coming to you live from the MacBook Pro. This is going to be a very fun episode. This is going to be a very interesting episode. I have a special guest for you guys that I'd like you to meet. It's someone who I found on TikTok. As you guys know, I've been receiving a lot of requests from you guys about having more guests on XYZ, and I do very intentionally try to find exactly who you guys want to speak with. And I think I found someone who you guys are really going to like. His name is Zack Alexander. I was looking through other life coaches, other emotional trauma healing specialists. I don't know if that's the right term or not, but I came across Zack's page and I just had to reach out to him. Him and I had a one-on-one personal conversation about a lot of different topics. And he was someone I wanted to bring into my circle, someone who I wanted to grow with, someone who I wanted to open up a relationship with. And obviously I had to get him on the podcast. Zack, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. We just, we had such a good conversation last time. There was such good energy. And I feel like we both learned a lot that it was only relevant to get you on the podcast. You were so knowledgeable and you explained it so well. Your message lands very well on social. So tell us more about what you do, how you came to where you are today, and how you're going to help more people in the future.
Yeah, so I've been a men's coach for the past year and a half. I'm also a shamanic healer, and we can go into that, what that means more on later. But I also work with a trauma-informed approach. So I'm someone who's really experienced every side of our Western medical system and our mental health sphere. And I noticed that there were just some holes. So basically what I do is I go in and I address someone from a mind, body, and soul level, while also taking into consideration around how someone's trauma history can create the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms that someone experiences. Oftentimes within our Western medical system, we just look at someone from a symptomology level. What are your symptoms? And let's find a way to mask it, or let's find a way to brute force yourself into more productivity. But what is the underlying reason for why we develop these physical symptoms? What is the reason why we might develop mental illness? What are the reasons why we might just be, I hope you don't mind if I curse, why we're unmotivated, why we don't want to do shit, right? Is journaling and it's a much more multifaceted approach. So that's why I believe I've had really good success in the sphere, and I am passionate about the work that I do.
Amazing. Yeah, you said it so well. It's like, we go to the doctor because we have high blood pressure, and they just treat our high blood pressure. They don't look at what caused the high blood pressure. They don't look at it from a holistic point of view. So tell us more about that, and tell us how you incorporate all the variables that are involved to guide your clients in the right direction.
Well, I mean, for me, I got into the sphere. So I'm 32 now. When I was 21, I became severely ill. I became bedridden. I lost 60 pounds overnight. I was a skeleton. I was ultimately bedridden for 4 years and didn't go to school, work, anything. And the Western medical system just kind of left me to die. So I had to go out and figure out what was wrong with me on every level. Like, I had to become my own detective. So within that, I really eventually healed and cured myself through holistic modalities and holistic medicine and getting down to trauma. A couple years later, I had what you would call a spiritual awakening, which kind of blasted me open to some more things, right? Going into different layers of consciousness and really understanding how they integrate, and just understanding that, oh my God, I'm just not this physical body. Like, I'm a multidimensional being. And that interrelates into all these health or physiological or emotional issues I'm developing. So that's kind of the short story of, then I got into this area of looking at someone from every level. So, I'll have someone come in and they might have like Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, which is something of the thyroid, right? And all these doctors are trying to put them in remission. And what we'll do is we'll do a lot of different type of somatic work or meditative exercises to find out that there was some trauma when they were 6, 7, 8 years old, where they were abused and they couldn't voice that. Like, that energy got stuck in that throat. And if that energy is not able to move, well, then the immune system can attack itself. So I definitely do look at things from a little bit more of a holistic level. I don't necessarily consider myself woo-y but there definitely is a little bit of a different dimension to how I address things.
I like that. There's so many different ways I can take this conversation, but I do want to just share something that resonated with me a lot. Is like, doing this podcast, when this comes out, this is eventually going to be over episode 215 or something like that. I get the opportunity to have conversations with intelligent experts just like yourself, Zach. And each and every single conversation I have, I learn something. And there is a common theme with every single person that I have on the podcast. And it's that consciousness and awareness is so important. Whether you're trying to be a high performer salesperson, whether you are just trying to be more present and mindful, whether you are just trying to be a good mother or father. Being aware that you're aware, being conscious is so important. And that's not something that we are taught in school. That's not something that we learn unless you seek it. So tell us more about how you blasted off down this into oblivion along this spirituality wormhole. Tell us more about that. And you can be as transparent as you want, dude. If it involved plant medicine, if it involved, psilocybin, please, we are open for all of that here.
So, I was a classic fuck up growing up, right? I was a failing student my entire life. Like, I was one no one expected anything out of. After I came out of my 4-year illness, I decided, let me play the game. Let me do what everyone told me I should always do. Let me succeed. And so I became the star academic student. I was applying to Harvard, Yale Law. I got a full scholarship to one of the top law programs in the country. And around that time, I started to notice, this didn't make me really happy. I did what I was told I was supposed to do, but this didn't necessarily make me feel fulfilled. There's something deeper here. What's going on? And I don't know what happened. It actually wasn't induced by plant medicine, even though I will utilize it. I just became aware. I don't know how else to say. It's like I could feel myself sinking deeper and deeper into the different layers of my subconscious. I understood that, it was like I could observe myself. And I understood that I was really acting out this programming, this mental program that was ingrained in me from our school systems, from family systems, from media. And that wasn't really me. And so then I started exploring shamanism. And I remember I went to this shamanic healer, and I sit down there, and she goes and she tells me right off the bat, she's like, "You're a shaman." And I'm like, "What the fuck is a shaman?" She's like, "You're a shaman. You have a shamanic calling. The illness, all these things, you're supposed to explore multidimensional layers of reality and bring that healing back to Western society." And I'm like, "Listen, woman, I'm addicted to Adderall. I just want to get a corporate law job so I could show the kids in high school that made fun of me that I'm smart. What the fuck do you mean I'm a shaman?" And she was like, there have been these shamanic healers in tribal indigenous communities. They would have this kind of layer of upbringing that's very similar to yours. Wow. And this is you're going to keep finding your way into this. And she was right. No matter what I did, I found my way into the calling of healing. When I went to law school, I ended up in the ER for the first 2 weeks. I was held up at an attempted carjacking right before my first law final. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I remember calling her after the first semester. I'm like, "I think you might be right. What do I?" And she's like, "All right, go to work." And so through that, I did start utilizing plant medicine a little bit more. I started entering into these different meditative states. But for me, it wasn't about blasting off. It was great that I was having these multidimensional experiences, understanding the different layers of our reality. But I had to understand, how does that integrate within our normal daily life? I still need to pay my fucking car insurance on time. Right. I still need to make sure my partner doesn't think I'm a douchebag. What do I still, how does exploring the different layers of consciousness interrelate with me and how I show up in this physical reality? And I think that's sometimes where the spiritual community can go a little off. They're all about exploring and plant medicine, but how does that still allow me to be a healthier, more embodied human being?
Well said.
Right.
Well, so what was the thought, Don? Dude, well said.
Yeah. How's it?
Dude, mic drop there, because a lot of the people that are in the coaching space or have a business that's somehow tied to spirituality, not to throw out names, but someone like Aubrey Marcus, right? I think that's his name. Great guy, love him, love following him, right? And a lot of the stuff he talks about is definitely very therapeutic and healing. And not to just put him on the spot, but there's other people. It's just, I don't see how that translates into paying your car insurance, like you said.
Right.
But we need to be able to use these tools, leverage these tools to live a better life. We don't all have to be shamans. And one other thing I do want to say is that, people that are listening to this podcast, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in a higher power or not, whether you believe in the universe or not, or law of attraction, whatever, what have you, people like Zack and people like myself understand that we don't know everything. And we have humility and we're humble. And that is the foundation for growth. Listen, I'm listening to Zack and I'm obviously extremely impressed. And I talk to a lot of people and I know you guys are listening are impressed as well. But Zack knows that he doesn't know everything. And because of that, he continues to seek more information and then he applies it to his life. Now, as someone who's just a personal growth coach for busy professionals that are trying to get in shape, manage stress, and have better work-life balance, I don't have a specialty like Zack does. But what I've learned is that because I don't know everything, because I embody someone who has humility, I'm able to grow my finances. I'm able to have deeper relationships with not only people in my life, but with a higher power. I'm able to run Ironmans on the drop of a dime. So all you people that are listening right now, and maybe you haven't gone down the spirituality route, and maybe Zack is inspiring you to be more spiritual, maybe he's not, just know that humility is very important. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think that just had to be said, Zack. I like to talk about humility a lot because I see it in you and I see it in myself. But tell us more about how you bridge. I know this is back to the topic. Sorry about that. How do you bridge the gap between psychology, spirituality, and somatic therapies? Because you have that in your bio, and I'm reading that, and I'm like, dude, where is this bridge, and how do I cross it?
So, how many of us have been to talk therapy and we spend a decade sometimes running in circles talking about our issues, but it doesn't feel like we ever actually get to the root of what's going on or we create substantive change, right? A lot of trauma or a lot of our past experiences are held in the body. Emotions are held in the body. So only working at the layer of the psychology, you can just become engrossed in analysis paralysis. Not that it's not needed, not that we don't need to conceptually understand what we're doing and what's going on, but until we release the underlying experiences in the body and come into wholeness within our physical self, there's not going to be a lot of change. Okay. Now, sometimes within our healing journey, there also is a spiritual dimension to it, right? I work with these, sometimes corporate CEOs who all of a sudden are like, oh my God, everything in my life is going wrong. And like, I'm witnessing myself. Am I going crazy? And I'm like, no, you're going through an awakening. You're going through a shift in consciousness. It's really unsettling, right? But if you just focus too much on the spiritual aspect, right, you can actually fracture the psyche. If you're all just like, you are a beautiful soul, and now let's just manifest, but you're not like you become like this numbed out, like glazed eye person. So how do we bring all three? How do we bring like awareness to the spiritual dimension of what you're experiencing?
Right.
Understand from a conceptual level, from a psychological level of why your brain is sputtering out these thoughts, right? How to kind of reel these thoughts in, but then also understand on the level of the body why your nervous system and the underlying emotions that haven't been released from the body are producing these thoughts in the first place. And so to integrate all three levels of the self, right? That's how you create substantive change, right? So the way that I work isn't really a goal-based thing. It's not like I want to run this marathon, so I'm going to do this. I think those are great, but to actually create the long-lasting, like anchored in change where you're showing up as a full embodied person that's really in alignment with your authentic self, like you need to address all three dimensions.
It's so important. That's so important.
Right.
So with most of your clients, do they have some sort of past traumatic event in their life and you're helping them uncover that and work through that? Or is it more of ego, inner child? Like, tell me more about the most common problems that you see and what hat you wear to help these people.
So I will shift the type of clientele I see pretty often. I mean, a couple years ago, I was very much heavily seeing victims of child sexual abuse and addressing that on every level. The last round of clients I saw, I got to be honest, they weren't very traumatized. A lot of them were very like high performing individuals who just had now experienced, a lot of them were going through awakenings and were like, what the fuck is this? I thought my life was fine, right? And so to kind of give them the tools to navigate that. And so that kind of went into a little bit more of like inner child healing and meditative practices. Can you be aware of your energy system, right? Can you tap into the feelings in your heart? Can you tap into your third eye? Can we go there, right? Can you sense the energy in your crown? So everything is a little bit different. I've also worked primarily with men and veterans too, because I think that is a very under-addressed community, right? And I think men need these modalities applied and adapted in a different way, right? I think men process anger differently. Men interact with their environment sometimes differently than what the therapy community perceives. So that's also one way I do it too. But to kind of answer your question, I move around.
Okay.
Right. I don't think I could say I have like one type of client.
I like that. But you know what? It seems like this. It seems like everybody could use this type of work. Like you mentioned, you work with people who obviously make a ton of money and are like C-suite executives, and clearly they have their shit together, but do they actually have their shit together? There's always room for growth, like we mentioned. So that's great. So all the people that are listening today, if you're actually watching on YouTube, I'm going to drop the link to Zack's Instagram and TikTok below. But before we get there, to all the people listening, Zack, if they know that they're having some trouble, or maybe they don't know if they're having some trouble, is there a way for them to be more aware of how they could potentially use the modalities that you serve to help them with their healing?
I mean, one of the things I'll say is I've worked with people who are great athletes, who still aren't aware of their bodies. I think one of the tools is, can you tap in and can you really feel the root of your spine? And just sit there and feel what the root of your spine feels like. Can you sense what anger feels like? Can you sense what shame feels like, right? This is a little bit different than the question you asked, but like to understand whether like the modalities and the way that I show up works with you, I want you to just first understand, can you even identify the physical sensations in your body? Can you identify what different emotions feel like? And do you know how to learn and interact with those experiences? Do you know how to work with shame? Do you know how to work with grief? Do you know how to work with anger? Right. And I think that's the journey and that's the path. And as that unfolds, then we start calling in coaching and help to really have someone hold space and to guide us further into that.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's kind of like a prerequisite here. It's like, hey, go answer these questions. And you know what I'm going to do? Thank God for ChatGPT, because I'm going to use them. I don't know if it's ChatGPT, whatever the software is I used. I'm going to dictate exactly what we're talking about into words, and I'm going to put those questions in the description below. And after you answer those questions, I'm going to send them to your Instagram if that's cool with you. And look, you guys, Zack's a super nice guy. If you can't tell, go over to his Instagram page at Zack Alexander __. And that's Zack with a K, ZACK ALEXANDER __. Follow him, shoot him a message. Super nice guy. Happy to open conversations up with you guys. But Zack, this was an awesome conversation. I think it's really clear on the value you provide, and I think it's very overwhelming to try to answer these questions, especially for someone who isn't super aware and have that emotional intelligence. And there are plenty of ways to start. And I think just having a conversation with you wouldn't be a bad way to start. But is there anything you want to leave with the audience today?
It's okay to be confused and to like not be killing it all the time. I think we live in a hyper-productive, hyper-performance society. And, a lot of this journey is allowing yourself to, as you said, to be like, yo, I don't fucking know. Right. I think the reason that I have become really, really good at my job, if I'm going to be fully honest and where I feel I'm at, is because of the amount of times I'm like, shit, I just did all this. I thought I got to the right place. And now there's another layer and I don't know. And to be able to acknowledge I don't know and to go into that, into the unknown is I think how we extract all those nuggets of wisdom.
That's good. How are you continuing to focus on personal growth, and how are you continuing to further your own path and journey?
I'm always creative. I'm actually, I'm not gonna lie. I'm about to go and do ketamine assisted therapy right after this call for the first time. And so, I mean, there are times where I will explore plant medicine or psychedelic integration when I need to. It's not the main tool I utilize, but a lot of it is pushing myself within my own business, within my own life, noticing where that edge is, noticing where that wall is, going back within, seeing where that resistance lies, right? Why that resistance exists, applying the tools, and just going. The life itself, your external reality, will give you the tests and challenges. It will show you where you need to look from within, right? Our external reality is always reflecting back to us what's going on and what we need to look at within. So for me, it's experiencing reality as it is, and then being curious about what that is saying about things within me.
Amazing. Well said. Thank you so much. Zach, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast today. You're a really cool dude. Definitely want to connect and deepen our relationship further. Good luck with your treatment. I know that's going to be something you're going to want to talk about. So I would love to have you back on the podcast and discuss that if that's something you want to do. No. Yeah, of course. All right, man. Well, listen, to all those people that are listening on Apple, Spotify, Audible, don't forget to leave a review, an honest review. We recommend 5 stars. And then follow Zack on Instagram at Zack, Z-A-C-K, Alexander __. You can follow him on TikTok too. What's the TikTok handle?
Same one.
Same one. Easy enough. Zack, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll connect with you again soon.
Thank you, man.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for being a loyal listener of the podcast. If you haven't already gotten my first book, Live Better Now, it's officially out on Amazon.com. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that's already purchased the book, reviewed the book, or shared it with friends and family. It really, really means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead and visit Amazon.com and purchase Live Better Now.